As you just heard, I'm Irene, and I'm here to talk about my role as a physiotherapist working at Princess Alice Hospice. And I know it's generally difficult to link physiotherapy with hospices because physiotherapy is about healing after maybe an injury or, being generally active, while hospices are just those places where people go and die. So how do they link? And how is death and dying related to this conference? To start from the very beginning of my story, since I was a teenager, I've been thinking that I would have had to know the meaning of death and dying to be able to live my life fully. And this thought, more or less consciously, guided all my choices so that I became a physiotherapist with the idea to explore and hopefully relieve the suffering in its many variations. Eventually, I got involved in the care of people suffering from diseases that can't be cured, either because the cure failed or because a cure is not available at all. And this is the field of the so-called palliative care. And the focus of palliative care is quality of life, whatever that means to the patient and to his family. Every intervention is tailored to the needs of that specific patient, and it's dependent on his goals, the possibility, his social support, his environment, and many other different factors. And it is proper group work where the patient and his family are the center of the intervention, and us as a team of professionals just surround them as a pallum, that is the Latin for blanket, hence the word palliative care. As a physiotherapist, I can help people improving their quality of life in many different ways. And today I'd like to speak to you through the words, through the experiences of all the patients I've met in my years of working, because they've been my teachers. And obviously, to protect their privacy, I'll be changing their names, maybe their age, their gender, so that if you recognize someone, probably it's not him or her. However, the story will be a true one. And through their experiences today, I'd like to help you to think about the meaning of death and dying and illness, and how to demonstrate livingness and will to good when facing death. Because if we want to demonstrate will to good, first of all, we need to know what good is, and if there is any good in death and illness. And I want to start with Marta. Marta is a woman who told me how an incurable cancer actually transformed her life, and for the best. All of a sudden, she realized the emptiness of a life based on parties and holidays and lunches that she was very active in organizing. And they all changed when she started to attend the hospice as a patient. There, she told me that she didn't know that there was suffering in the world, and I know it seems amazing, a bit odd, but this is exactly what she told me. She didn't know that there was suffering in the world. But when she started coming to the hospice, her life changed completely. She started looking for a different depth in their relationships, and also she became very active in bringing a smile to other people, in bringing people together, just using all those social abilities that she had practiced before in a sort of previous life, but with a completely different aim. And I work with her with some body techniques to help with an intractable pain. And through that, she discovered that actually she had cut suffering out of her awareness after the painful death of one of her relatives when she was young. And now her illness was bringing everything back up to her consciousness so that she could deal with it. And despite the suffering, the physical, the emotional, the mental suffering, she was just grateful because she had managed to see different things change her life, and she was just grateful for what illness had brought to her. And I see this as a very positive example of how to consciously work with the disease to find a new meaning or new meanings in life. And if we think about it, we all have this chance, because we can all use the body to understand soul messages, and this can be done listening to the subtle changes of the body, or even listening to proper illnesses when that's the case. And the imbalance needs to be purified more deeply through that disease. At the end, I think it's all a matter of purpose, of will to understand what's happening and direct the energies in a specific direction with the idea to find a better alignment. And all of this happens thanks to that initial imbalance that we call illness. From one of the Alice Bailey's books, we know that the Shambhala energy is related to the livingness of humanity, and that it is about the establishing of right human relationships. And, quoting her, is the condition of being which eventually negates the power of death. Said that to build, we might need to destroy the old form first. And I think about Celia. She was a mother, very young mother, preparing to leave her 2 very, very young children. And she was trying all that was in her power to be able to remain alive, to go back home and care for her family. So she really wanted to work with me, with physiotherapy, to be able to walk again. But when I met with her, she was in her last days of life, and she wasn't even able to sit on the edge of the bed. And she asked me to tell her husband that she had been able to walk with me, but she sort of knew that that was a lie. And when I told her, no, I can't help you in that way, what I did with them was for her to find a way to say, I am weak, I am dying, I can't do these things anymore. And for him to be able to accept this and to be by her side during her last days of life. And they managed, with a lot of support, of suffering, of just reshaping and reorganizing of emotions, of fears, of roles, but they managed. Other people don't have the strength to do so, and hence the fights or the lies or the pretending that things are not changing and that that person is not dying. And this is when I become a mediator between the patient and his family, or between the patient and his own emotions and thoughts. And sometimes the patient needs to be given the permission to rest, to just let go. And they need to have that professional reassuring him that they're not lazy, that they just need to rest and sleep as a normal part of the process of dying. And they might even need a bit of protection from their family, their friends, that maybe still want them to be active and talking and doing things with them. I also have another role. I'm there to encourage people to exercise and improve their independence and their quality of life when this is the case. And you might be surprised to know that in the hospice we have a gym with all the equipment, so the parallel bars, the stairs, the plinth, weights, balls, a proper gym where we have proper exercise classes to rehab patients. And because I am the one leading these classes, Often, I am the reason why the patients come into that building that is called a hospice for their very first time. And because of the common thought that when you enter a hospice, you're unlikely to leave it on your own legs, they usually come in very scared. And I had people that just panicked in the lift when they realized, I'm in the hospice, I'm in this building, I'm gonna die. Even if they know that they're coming there to see me, to improve their mobility, to have physiotherapy, still that thought form is so powerful. So my first task is to actually relax them and to show them that they're there not to die, but to learn and relearn how to live in the situation they're in at that moment. But the thought form attached to the word hospice is really, really powerful. And I think we can all help to dispel it by realizing how much life and living is hidden in a hospice. And sometimes the intervention is really simple, and it's just about telling that person, that patient, that they can move, and that there is still life to live. And I still think with wonder to, let's call them James and Christy, who have been housebound for weeks after having been told that they had incurable cancer. After just one session, that first assessment, they drove to the hospice themselves just because they regained hope and faith that they could still do it. But they really needed that reassurance from a professional that they can live, that there is still life to live, even if you have a progressive, maybe incurable illness. For other people, the process is a bit slower. It's not just one session. They come to the hospice and attend few sessions week after week, and they're able to find new strength physically, but above all, mentally, so that they can cope and even thrive despite the illness. And people become more focused, calmer, and generally more able to discriminate what is important and what is not. In many cases, and I'm tempted to say in almost all cases, it's all about bringing people back to their own bodies. If you think about it, if you have a progressive disease, your body is losing strength day by day. It might be painful, it might be leaking fluids, losing hair. It's just difficult to remain in the body. But the body is what links us to this world, what allows us to know and to be in this world. So by doing, we discover and rediscover the limits, the potential that we have, and at the end it's all related to our sense of identity. Without being embodied, we can't even die properly, because we can only withdraw the energy if the energy is there, is in the body. And I know that it seems counterintuitive, but the more we are in the present moment, even if being in the present moment means to deal with a painful body, with painful emotions, with a painful situation, but the more we are there, the more the suffering disappears. But how many of us has the necessary training to have a steady mind, able to observe and withstand this all? I can't forget the strength of some people that I've met in my career that have really been able to talk openly about their illnesses, their physical, their mental pain, or their losses, but still able to really have a happy life and even care for others. Some are able to organize their funeral so that when they die, their relatives don't have to worry about, all the practicalities, and can really focus on their grief and the rebuilding of their new life without them. I think about Jack, who felt really cared from his dead wife when he realized that she had organized everything for the funeral and even wrote some letters to him, to their children, so that she was still with them, just in another form. And sometimes, and these are the hardest times for me, I feel I can just observe the unfolding of a movement started years or maybe even lives before, without the possibility of changing much of that trajectory. And you see that that is leading to more pain, to more suffering, but you feel that it's just too late to do something at that point in time. And this is one of the reasons why, I would say probably the main reason why I am here talking to you today, to tell not to take anything for granted, not the possibility to talk, to eat, to breathe, and to be grateful for all these basic abilities that allowed you to be here today, and to use the time, the energy that you have today to live your life, to understand it, and to find that joy that lies in it. So how are we using the possibility that we have today? How am I using it? And with this in mind, I'd like to end my talk with some words from Jon Kabat-Zinn, from his book, Wherever You Go, There You Are. If what happens now does influence what happens next, then doesn't it make sense to look around a bit from time to time so that you are more in touch with what is happening now, so that you can take your inner and outer bearings and perceive with clarity the path that you're actually on and the direction in which you're going? If you do so, maybe you'll be in a better position to chart a course for yourself that is truer to your inner being. A soul path with heart, your path with a capital P. If not, the sheer momentum of your unconsciousness in this moment just colors the next moment. The days, months, and years quickly go by unnoticed, unused, unappreciated. It is all too easy to remain on something of a fog-enshrouded slippery slope right into your graves, or in the fog-dispelling clarity which on occasions precedes the moment of death, to wake up and realize that what we had thought all those years about life was to be lived, and what was important were at best unexamined half-truths based on fear or ignorance. Only our own life-limiting ideas, and not the truth or the way your life had to be at all. No one else can do this job of waking up for us, although our family and friends do sometimes try desperately to get through to us, to help us see more clearly or break out our own blindnesses. But waking up is ultimately something that each one of us can only do for ourselves. When it comes down to it, wherever you go, there you are. It is your life that is unfolding. And I say this with the best wish for all of us, that we can live our life fully, and when the right time comes, that we can live this body in full consciousness and joy, as my colleague found, who at the age of 92 cleaned her house, paid all her bills, emptied the trash bins, went into bed, and died healthy and serene. Thank you very much.